Hi there guys, Megan Ryan JC, and today I want to talk about depression. Okay? Mainly I want to talk about depression and its relationship to Ascension. Just what is Ascension to begin with, right? Well, Ascension really is when your awareness grows so large that you no longer want to let certain people, things, or circumstances hold you down. But in that knowingness, you know that certain changes need to take place in order for you to step into yourself. But before I tell you guys what's needed in order to do that, let's look at Ascension as it relates to that date, that very special date of 2012. Okay, what actually happened on 2012? Well, on 2012, a lot of people started waking up, right? Light bulbs, ding! That was mainly because the barriers which cut us off from our higher mind, that interdimensional way of thinking, which really does know what's good for us, came down. And as soon as that came down, we also had access to our other multidimensional bodies, which can only be accessed when someone actually operates at a certain modality or a certain way of thinking, be that of the higher mind, or what people call the higher self, or the intuitive mind. Okay? So as soon as those walls collapsed, we had loads of people accessing their emotional body more than usual, and that also ties into depression, and I'll get into that later on as to how the emotional body ties into the ascension process. But also with the astral body and the etheric body. Two things which really, if a person's not ready, they're going to have a hard time. So as soon as those walls came down, all of the desires of man or woman came out into the astral realm or the etheric realm, which they were able to occupy in their astral body. Okay? Everyone was astral projecting for the first time on 2012. They were seeing their desires manifest within the etheric realm because now they have access to their etheric body alongside their emotional body and their astral body. Those desires really did show up, and the desires were ranging from their fear-based desires to their sexual desires and, well, the desires that make them feel happy. This was when a lot of people were afraid of the astrals, mainly, because they were seeing things which matched up to their beliefs, okay? The etheric realm deals with thought forms, thoughts incarnate, thoughts made real. So a lot of people, as they saw the world back then, be that the biblical prophecies or other prophecies dealing with jinn and how they should look, saw their fears manifest. They were dealing with their fears within the astral realm. So during that time, it was very scary for a lot of people if they weren't trained in astral projection, if they weren't told about what it was that they were actually seeing. And because of that, a lot of people went insane. Yeah. Insane. They tried to match what was actually going on with something that they thought was going on. So they're attaching logic and stories, the world that they used to know, to something which is new. And because of that, they couldn't quite understand what was going on. They were very confused, which then threw them through a loop. You get a lot of people going around screaming how hell exists when really they were just in a projection of their own thoughts. Hell doesn't exist. Or at least that I know of. Hell, no, it doesn't exist. So what does this have to do with depression? Well, when somebody becomes hyper aware of things, all of a sudden, the world that they used to know disappears, meaning all of the fear-based logic, all of the systems of thought, the dogma, the religious beliefs, even the logical beliefs, the scientific beliefs, really no longer seem credible because they're experiencing other things. Not only that, but they've got this uncanny ability to see through people and deception because your third eye is opening. So there's this adjustment period where you start to realize that the world that you was in really isn't real. Now, obviously, you get to the point where you're afraid first. And that's obviously because you're coming out of, that spiritual suppression. I call it spiritual growing pains. Then you become aware your world falls apart. But then you start to see how people within your surroundings are holding you down. You start to then realize that the people who are holding you down, the circumstances, the events, everything really is against your best interest. And then you'll start to realize how you were influenced in an unconscious state to go along with those things that were against those best interests. Your ascension or the growth of your awareness. Because of this, you can become depressed because you know now that you have to get rid of some friends. Not only that, but maybe you have to get rid of certain things, such as animals or any kind of responsibility that you can no longer deal with because it's taking up too much of your time. So depression sets in. Now, as you go through that state, because there is a way where everything comes full circle, and I'll talk about that in a sec, everything does get better, but as you get to the point where you look at the fact that you could be losing your friends, you begin to match a frequency of every other low vibrational depressed feeling within your being. Okay, now remember what I said earlier about your emotional body. You're becoming more hypersensitive to your emotional body. All of your emotions that you've accumulated throughout your life, your subconscious mind then takes it away from the forefront so that it's no longer burdening you. It's no longer cutting you open. It's no longer causing more trauma to this current you, this wakeful state of you. So it'll push all of your traumatic experiences to the back of your subconscious mind to protect the, consciousness, that main wakeful state. Because if you're always thinking about the trauma, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You wouldn't be able to get out of bed, you wouldn't be able to talk to people, you wouldn't be able to do anything at all, right? So your subconscious mind will protect you from your trauma by pushing it further back. But that's only if you agree for it to do so. Okay? So, what happens? Well, now that you're connected to your intuitive mind, which is an aspect of the subconscious mind, the same subconscious mind, which is protecting you from your traumas, all of a sudden, all of that stuff comes up. Okay? All of those emotions that haven't been fixed, all of the times that you've seen something happen, gotten confused, freaked out, your body shows signs of confusion, anxiety and stress and so forth, and then you just throw it away. You don't want to deal with it, just throw it away. It's like you can't do a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle, screw it, you just throw it away. The confusion-based logic, when you're trying to make sense out of something, which is kind of traumatic, that you cannot even fathom at that time, why is somebody acting like that? Why is this all happening to me? All of a sudden gets thrown back to the subconscious mind. The ascension process happens. You become more aware of that deeper aspect of yourself, and then everything comes up. Now, why is it coming up? Well, it's coming up because you're becoming more multidimensional. Okay, meaning you're able to see things from multiple perspectives. So now your subconscious mind or the intuitive mind knows that you are actually capable of dealing with these issues. Okay, this is a good thing. Even if you don't know it, a part of you knows that you can deal with these issues. So not only are you becoming multidimensional in the sense of your astral and your etheric and your mental and your emotional body and other aspects of your being, which allow you to see the world and other realities in certain ways, but now you're able to think and perceive one situation from many different perspectives, which then allow you to overcome an obstacle, even the ones that you never overcame within your past, you see. So the intuitive mind is very intelligent. It knows exactly what you need to do in order to fix your issues. However, with all the stress of knowing that you need to change your relationships with your friends, families, and your life and drop certain things that no longer serve you, coupled with all this emotional stress from unresolved issues, it can get really, really stressful. Really bad. But as long as you know how to meditate, and I don't mean just sit there thinking about a beach, no, I mean like proper meditation, contemplation, okay? Statue man kind of stuff, where you sit there, think, and change your perspective by looking at memories, where you're aware of the fact that you're seeing things differently, and then you're deliberately digging stuff up to look at it differently, noticing the fact that now you feel different emotionally once you've seen that past experience with new eyes. So, the depression only disappears once you allow it to come up and once you're able to shift your perception of how you're viewing those things, which then gets me into the next point, okay, this next aspect of the ascension process, or this growing pain, or these growing pains overall, which deals with that full circle I was talking about earlier on. You'll start to notice that you intuitively have this urge to connect to old friends. Connect to them in many ways. Phone them, message them, instant messenger, MSM if you still use that, Yahoo, Facebook, Snapchat. However you know how, you'll connect to them. You don't want to be in resistance to that, okay? You need to go with the flow of how you feel, how many of these aspects of you feel. If you feel like connecting back to an ex, connect back to her or him. Okay? If you feel like you have to say something, then say something. Don't let your ego get in the way and say, no, he was in the wrong. You need to move past that. Get rid of the resistance. Sit with yourself. What did you do which possibly could have lended to the fact that it was actually your fault? Experience the fact that, you know what? Yeah, maybe it was both of our faults. You need to look at it from a different perspective. Then get in touch with that person. When you do that, you'll realize that you'll connect to that individual in a way which you hadn't previously connected to that person. It'll be more of a soul connection rather than an egoic connection. You see, we make friends within the past because their ego are attached to specific things within their environment, be that music choices, video choices, or maybe even their hobbies. And thus you create this connection. You can relate to them in that way, but it's based on exterior things. When you connect to them on a deeper level, a soul level, it moves beyond 3D. And because of that, you'll always have that permanent connection with that friend. Therefore, you'll never have to drop them by the wayside. There is a moment though where you do need breathing room. You do need to step back from everyone else, the egoic aspect of everyone else, to find yourself. And when you do that, you'll learn how to bring it out in others. And when you do, that is when you make it full circle. You connect back to those who you've dropped, but not everyone. Only certain people. You'll notice this in life. Preschool friends, you'll notice that you stick with them throughout your entire life. It's the relationships that are built on the egoic expression, which don't last very long. It's because you've already had that soul connection with them. So your preschool friends will most likely be the first people that you'll pick back up after you've dropped them and you've become more introspective. You've meditated more, you've dealt more with the stuff that's inside that needs to be fixed. So this has been a video on Ascension and its relationship to depression. Okay, look at it as a gift. You're becoming aware. Everyone has this idea that once Ascension kicks in, everyone's supposed to be light and enlightened, right? Free of everything, but they don't realize that time is a factor here. You have to do the work. You're the consciousness that is changing. So in order for you, the consciousness to change, you have to become introspective. You have to observe everything. You have to change everything. You cannot just change by yourself. Yeah, you can become louder and inflamed, but you always have to observe certain things in order to change the frequency within the body. That is when you drop everything. That is when you become light. That is when you become enlightened. That is when you find your life path. That is when you know why you're here. And that is also when you become blissed out for a long time to come. I'm Ryan JC Ryan James Cropper. This has been Your Potential. It's been fun. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Subscribe for more self-help videos like this. Like this video if you can relate to anything, or leave a comment below if you can't. And I'll speak to you guys pretty soon. Peace.